The Full Send Racing Series has returned once again to the ever so famous and even I would say ever so beloved Iowa Speedway here. The, if I remember correctly, 7/8 of a mile track. I have to catch up with my notes on that, but regardless, a 0.88 mile track here, the short course, and it's going to be the 5th time this season that the Full Send Racing Series has visited this circuit. Hopefully everyone is doing well this evening, as we will go ahead and take a look at the previous winners there in the lower right hand side of your screen. The previous winners here at Iowa Speedway, that being Brian McCann most recently, but that was in the Gen 6. But that was the previous season of Season 6. 2023 Season 5 was Zachary Hall. 2022 Season 2 was Ken Campbell. And same for 2021 Season 1. Also that being Ken Campbell winning at Iowa Speedway. So we could potentially see a 4th different winner here, or a repeat winner, depending on how things go. But regardless, a stacked night is in store here. 160 laps. The stage very interestingly ends at lap 110. I'll go ahead and show off the championship standings coming into tonight here at Iowa Speedway, where Brian McCann, 3-time race winner this season, currently leads over both Zachary Lovelace and Cameron Sarton. The top 3 drivers are locked into the final 12 going into out of Talladega, I should say, but we're still quite a few weeks away from that, about 8 weeks, give or take. So a lot to look ahead for going here into tonight's event. Welcome once again to the Racing Line Network, as we are just about to, very shortly, in about 30 seconds time, give you the starting grid going into tonight's event. Once again, stage ends at lap 110. Very pretty much late in the race, I would say, with about 50 laps to go is when the stage ends. So we have a long way to go, a long way to let strategy play out as well going into tonight. Speaking of going into tonight, we will go ahead and show off the starting grid here for tonight's event. So starting off in the first place position is going to be Tony Brent. Brian McCann starts off on his outside. A very solid gap between these two, about 6.5 tenths of a second, well, 6.5 hundredths of a second, excuse me, to put that a little bit more accurately. Next row holds both Zachary Lovelace and Hunter Karsten. Been a while since we've seen Hunter Karsten in the, I'd say, top 5 ever so slightly, but he has been consistently in the top 10, or at least around the top 10. So as driver to keep an eye on as well. Zachary Lovelace, the winner of the road course race at the Red Bull Ring just a few weeks ago. Of course, car 3 appropriately, or car number 33 appropriately in the 3rd place position. Very shortly, we will give you the next rows. We get things finalized here. Rounding out the top 5 is going to be the number 15 of Chris Chavez Essery. That's not the correct button. There we go. And then to the outside, it's going to be Travis Dart in that number 26 machine, as we see the first 3 rows here on your screen. Next row will hold Michael Thorpe Jr., and the 3 car starting his outside, that is Ryan Lynch, as the field is going to be given the signal to start rolling off behind the pace car to start their pace lap. Philip Chavez in the 101 will start off in 9th, and newcomer to the series just this week is Daniel McConnell, not to be confused with David McConnell. He starts off running out the top 10 in the number 72 machine. Eberly Mack will start off in 11th place with Jonathan Burt and the 6 machine to the outside, with Larry Griffin in the 77 starting off in the 13th place position. We'll get there one day. 13th place position with Doug Pierce in the 14th place position, and William Duff rounds out the 15-car field here for this evening's event. And luckily an extra pace lap is in order for us. 2 pace laps once they roll off pit road, as per usual here for shorter courses. Again, 160 laps, 160, with the stage ending at lap 110. Everybody waiting with bated breath as we are riding on board with the iRacing safety car, pace car, pilot car, caution car. I would have thought a car like that would have so many names. But said car with so many names will go off into its safety of pit road as we go green flag racing here at Iowa Speedway. And just barely at the start-finish line, that lap lead goes to previous race winner Brian McCann. Of course, again, that was in the Gen 6. He has not won in an Xfinity car at this track, out of technicality, at least in the league. Tony Brent trying to hang on strong, but he will fall in to the inside lane. Of course, multi-groove racing, very, very possible here at this track. It's a 33 and 13. Hunter Karsten and Zachary Lovelace. Karsten up on the outside in that number 13 will try and run around the outside lane. Scrapes the wall just a little bit, but he will hold strong. How long can he hold on for is the real question. Does Michael Thorpe Jr. decide to make it 3 wide there on the inside lane? He decides to stay in line with the 33. Again, every time we talk about Michael Thorpe Jr., I swear, he's quite literally always around Zachary Lovelace. These 2 cars, it's just the nature of the numbers at this point of the cars, I'm sure. 33, 34, respectively move to 3rd and 4th. As Karsten will try and hang on to the top 10 as we settle in. For the next few laps. Maybe a little bit of understeer from Michael Thorpe Jr. on the inside lane, but he does hold on to it. Peaks ahead by about full car length, and into turn 3 they go. And so they go into turn 3. The car, Joe Thorpe into the outside wall. It's actually Lovelace into the outside wall. I knew I'd seen the dark gray. I defaulted to Thorpe because he's no stranger to throwing the rear of that car around, but that was actually Lovelace that had bobbled on the outside lane and ended up in the outside wall. Stays off it this time, just barely. As Brian McCann brings that number 8 into turns 1 and 2 once again, running a little bit higher compared to Tony Brent and Michael Thorpe Jr. The short run pace definitely for Thorpe here as he'll look to the inside of Tony Brent for position number 2. You can see the flames out of the exhaust coming out. He is out of the throttle by that much. Move the 34 to 2nd place, just barely at the start-finish line. Surely that was by thousandths of a second. Tony Brent, though, not giving that up just yet. So he'll peek to the inside lane. Does he get a nose on the back bumper? He does not. The nose onto the back bumper of the 33, however, is Travis Dart in that number 26 machine. He'll look to the inside lane. This is for position number 5 on the racetrack. Dives down to the inside. So take a look at this battle from the back of Hunter Carson. No doubt he's also keeping an eye on this battle in the mirrors. Again, the flames just shooting out of the 26. That is how much you're out of the throttle. He'll dive to the inside once again. Does the 26. To move Travis Dart to P5. Lovelace a little bit on the back foot, but a long way to go, luckily. Carson's hitting the outside wall and corner exit of turn 4. Just hasn't been the most ideal day, but I would say he's, I don't know if recovered is the proper word, but he has held strong with his positions. So take a look at the previous lap the drivers had set across the start-finish line. Michael Thorpe Jr. about 1/10 of a second faster than Brian McCann. And that gap is ever so slightly closing. Last time by the start-finish line, it was about 4/10 of a second. In fact, this time by, as we see the previous lap time, they have basically matched each other within 5/1000ths of a second. These two have definitely broken away, though. Look at the gap between these two. That is about a second between the leader, between McCann and Brent. These two definitely in the land of their own. And I think for the first time today, it's for maybe a second time or third time today, McCann has decided to move to the very inside lane in turns 1 and 2, running the higher lane in turns 3 and 4. And you see the difference in the lanes that these drivers are running. And Thorpe has significantly closed the gap. It is now about just over 0.2 of a second. The alternate lines working very, very well. We just continue to watch the battle between what is essentially Guardian Autosport in the form of Michael Thorpe Jr. and the privateer, that being Michael McCann. We also might be seeing a battle here for P4 as Travis Dart is going to make his way up the inside ever so slightly of Hunter Karsten. Off turn 2 they go. Karsten just barely scraping against the outside wall, thinking that, at least for his car, the outside lane is a little bit more forgiving on the inside tires of the right rear tire, more accurately. And from that run off turn 4, we see it is proving successful, but again, with that dive to the inside lane, technically the shorter way around the track, it is helping the 26 of Travis Dart. Carson actually broke a little bit early in comparison. He's going to try the crossover off turn 4, looks to the inside, as Dart has moved up to P4. Are we going to get a swapped lane by chance on corner entry? We do not. Carson decides to just directly follow the tire tracks of Travis Dart as we exit turn number 2. As we exit turn 4, I saw that Thorpe, sliding albeit, is still continuing to close the gap. Runs the outside lane here once again. Telling you, Brent has started to slowly close his way into the battle between these two. Thorpe trying to search around different lines. Trying to figure out where exactly the ideal grip is for his tires. He's very confident in running this outside lane. Heard the scraping. You saw a couple other drivers scraping the outside wall as well off turn number 2. Pace has picked up from Tony Brent just last time around. His previous lap being a 25.689. The previous lap of Michael Thorpe Jr. was a 25.717. 774 is what it is at this start-finish line. And again, the league of his own, effectively, Brian McCann with a 25.651. I would say the only driver to be in the 25.6 range, but the other driver here is Travis Dart, also in the 25.6 range, and in fact, this would be the only other driver. Meanwhile, Jonathan Burr and Haberly Telemac battling side by side for P11 here. Very short-lived battle between the two drivers of Texas Speed. It's been a while since we've seen Tony Brent finishing around the top 3. Although he is arguably the most consistent driver, as he's always been leading the, dare I say, the, well, consistent finishing, maybe not exiting turn 2. Turn 2 has been a little bit brutal today, but not only for Tony Brent. Tony Brent's previous race finishes, race 1, he got 5th place at Daytona. Race 2, he got P6. Race 3, he finished 14th. Race number 4 is when he finished in 3rd place. So it's been a couple weeks, relatively more consistently, the top 5, if not just around the end of the top 5. That consistency, aside from the P14, has done him insanely well here in the point standings. And in fact, I'll take a look at the live points table on the bottom, well, more primarily the right-hand side of the screen, rather than the bottom right. As we see, as Tony Brent runs 3rd, he is still going to be leading the drivers of the regular points who are not locked in. Even more interestingly, Hunter Karsten currently running 5th place right now. He's only 1 point behind, or 1 point ahead of Michael Thorpe Jr., who currently runs in 2nd. So the points have swung in favor of Hunter Karsten. Coming into this race, Karsten was behind Michael Thorpe Jr. by quite a significant margin, 191 points compared to Thorpe's 205. And now that I said that loud, I feel like there might be a typo with our total points tally. That should be updated regardless. Now I know what the confusion is coming from. I had to think about that for a second. So where Karsten is running currently, we'll do this. It's 40 points for 1st place, then 35 points for 2nd, 34, 33, and 32 points to Hunter Karsten. That's where I got confused. I'm not sure why Philip isn't higher up in the standings in that case, but regardless, I'll take a look at that a little bit later. Something we can look at right now, though, is the gap has closed between not only Tony Brent and Michael Thorpe Jr., but also Travis Start and Tony Brent. Now that the pace has gone on a little bit longer, these drivers are starting to get into their long-run elements. Remember, I said the short pace for Thorpe has seemed to be proven solid, but it's only able to catch up to Brian McCann. It's one thing to catch a driver, it's another thing to pass, and sliding is Michael Thorpe into the outside wall. No! Caution is out. As the 34 sits up on the outside lane waiting for the field to go by. That is the first caution of the day. Oh, what a disappointment. Man, that is... Well, on the bright side, I can say this. His engine is not smoking, so he does have a leg to stand on for now. And, you know, they say cautions, precautions. We'll take a look at the incident, see what happened here with Michael Thorpe. We'll see if anyone does decide to pit in the meantime, as pit road will be open for the lead lap cars. And then we'll take a look at the replay, see what happened with Thorpe. Who goes in the pit road? Looks like everybody's coming in the pit road. Ignore the fact that it says pit road is closed with the lights. That's just a side effect, but everybody is in pit road. And Thorpe has just now gotten to his pit box. He's trying to get back. He's overshot a little bit just to add the insult to injury. Potentially problems with his steering. As everyone sits in their pit box. Right side's going up on pretty much everybody here in pit road. I'm not surprised that everyone's deciding to take 4 tires and fuel. First one to go is going to be Travis Start, and it's a drag race for second off pit road. Between both Tony Brent and Travis Start. Let's take a look at the replay now and see what had occurred to the 34 of Michael Thorpe Jr. We saw that he did have a spin on corner entry. If we can get this up here. That's like just powered it too much. Gosh, wow, what an avoidance by Travis. That's right, on board Michael Thorpe here. And you heard him try to stay on the throttle to try and keep it around, but unfortunately that just did not work out too well. It's right on board Travis Start. See what he saw here. Well, with that being said, we are now going to the restart. And for the first time ever since the season started, this is, if I remember correctly, now the first time that we've seen the leader, in this case Brian McCann, choose the outside lane. I've not seen anyone utilize the leader restarts, the restart rule. So this is very intriguing. Of course, McCann way more confident in the outside lane, and we'll see how things fare here as we come back to the green.
Green flag, green flag.
Oh, he's gotten pushed by Hunter Karsten. The outside lane stacks up. No doubt an immediate caution here. Debris all over the track, and the 72 of Dave McConnell has gotten the absolute worst of it. We stay green as no car is technically spun. What a chaotic restart as we still continue. We stay under green. After getting pushed into the outside wall, the 8 may have spun his tires on the outside, is what I'm guessing. Because otherwise he just did not get going. Tony Brent on the inside lane. Can't make anything happen as of yet. Stuff like this is why you stay in the race despite having damage from 34. Michael Thorpe still in pit road, still repairing his damage. And for the newcomer to the series of this week, what awful luck. That car is absolutely torn up with engine damage like that. Surely that is a 30-minute repair at the minimum. That's not including any steering damage, aero damage, what have you. We're going to wait for things to sort out here, and then we'll take a look at what happened here. To the outside goes Brian McCann. Switch back to the inside. With that number 8 machine back into the lead once again, but with how much damage? Clearly it's not affecting his performance too much if he's able to go back to first, but no doubt he's suffering some kind of side effects from that. He did get pushed into the outside wall a little bit. It might be minor damage, but it is still damage regardless. All right, we'll see if we can get a replay here of the restart. Because what a chaotic restart that was. We'll look from up above and see what happens here. So the pace car is off. Brian has not gone yet. Not in the restart zone yet. Now he is. And oh no, Hunter Carson just got into the back of him. But was he in the lower gear? Was Brian McCann in the lower gear? I have to ride on board here. Luckily, we have all the possible angles. Let's listen. From the 13 of Hunter Carson. Oh, I see. Carson just got too eager, got on the back bumper, and that lifted the rear end of the car off the ground for Brian McCann, so that's why he just wasn't able to get going when he put the throttle down. The one getting the worst of it is David McConnell. Oh, man. He gets hit from, is that Larry Griffin on the outside? I believe that is. Even in the very back, apparently you're not safe. Oh, man. So surprisingly, no caution, but a very chaotic restart regardless. That's left us in this situation where Brian McCann most certainly has damage. He's not able to pull away as much as he has. Either that or Travis Start has thrown on the afterburners. As he is still just barely managing to keep pace with Brian McCann. In fact, still about 0.08 of a second slower last time by at the start-finish line. The driver who snuck his way into the top 4 is Chris Travis Essery. The driver who snuck his way into the top 5 is Ryan Lynch. Jonathan Burt is also in line for very good points-paying position as well. Of course, remember, some drivers are missing this week. Cameron Sarton, I believe, if I remember correctly, he did say that he had some real-life stuff to attend to for this week. So he did say it wasn't his preferred track. To be fair, he might have dodged a bullet. Granted, he is locked in, so he is relatively safe. Hypothetically, he doesn't have to show up until the until the playoffs, but of course there are the rules where you still have to attend as many races as possible. I believe a certain percentage of the races in order to be considered for the playoffs regardless. And since Sargent is full-time, since a lot of these drivers are full-time, then there are very much easily able to be considered in contention. Speaking of in contention, Travis Starr about to be in contention for the lead here, provided he gets those tires to at least agree with whatever line he's deciding to run right now. He has flown up to the back bumper of McCann here, about the car length and a half, separating them down the back straightaway. Nope, that's 2.5 car lengths. Down to the inside he goes, off turn number 4. Will we see a lead change? A hindered Brian McCann trying to stay out front, do what he think is possible, do the most possible at least to stay in the lead with some right front damage. Tony Brent lurking in 3rd place if anything happens. And oh my gosh, if anything happens, this entire championship is going to be blown wide open. We're not even in the playoffs yet. Which, by the way, we might as well throw this up right now on the right-hand side of your screen. There are the championship points as things are running right now. In fact, Zachary Lovelace is on the apron in turns 3 and 4. Does he have too much damage? Did he encounter more damage? Hold on a minute. We'll give that back momentarily. But we need to see what's happened with Zachary Lovelace here. Impromptu replay. Of course, he was caught in the outside lane. How much steering damage does he have? Let's listen. Looks like he's just decided to pull into pit road, so no further accident, but definitely a slowed pace. And keep you updated on that as we will for Michael Thorpe Jr., who is still in pit road for the past 11, almost 12 minutes. Same goes for David McConnell, almost in pit road for the last about 7 minutes, 40 seconds getting repairs. And add Zachary Lovelace to that pile of collected sheet metal, well, specifically the car. No doubt going to be taking parts out the car just to make sure nothing else falls off. Speaking of things falling off, that is going to be the pace of these drivers. The best lap last time, actually, the best lap overall was a 24.635 set, of course, by Brian McCann, and now he's running 25.846, so basically 1.2 tenths of a second slower. And whether or not that was set on the restart, so after 25 laps, look at the slide of Travis Starr off turn 4, pushing the tires to its limits. Again, stage ends lap 110 with 50 laps before the finish. So again, still a very long way to go. Drivers could still be in contention for some extra points here. have to consult the rule book once again, but I'll be double checking here. Let's see. If I remember correctly, and I will be double checking as I'm saying this. Yes, so stage points do not have any playoff points added to them. It's just extra points, effectively. So, effectively, when it comes to regular points, driver in first place, if they finish first at the end of the stage and first at the end of the race, they could get a collective 50 points. Only 3 playoff points for a race win. But there are end of regular season playoff points for 1st through 5th, but we'll get to that when we get to that point, which is going to be Talladega. Those will be factored in as well. While we have a chance, we're going to go ahead and step away to go side by side here, so you won't miss any of the action. It will stay on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. We are 31 laps, just about to be, into our current run. The most that these drivers have run so far, 35 laps, and that was the result of a caution. So we'll see how things fare here going into the next portion of this race. We'll go side by side. You won't miss any of the action here on the Racing Line Network.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker, the future is feeling.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Lap number 75. Soon to be on the board here at Iowa Speedway. Larry Griffin diving out of the way. Was not expecting Brian McCann to use the inside lane, I'm sure, as we are back here on the Racing Line Network. This is the Dart Brothers 160 here at Iowa. Oh boy, has there ever been so much chaos. The 34 of Michael Thorpe Jr. currently sitting in pit road for repairs. Same goes for the driver of the number 72, that being Dave McConnell. Both drivers have been in pit road for almost a combined roughly 25 minutes. Zachary Lovelace as well. You can't really see him from this angle, but he is hiding there behind all the possible angles there on pit road. Currently sits in the 13th place position. All drivers just trying to repair the cars and go home. All three of these drivers as well started in the top 10. Third for Lovelace, 10th for McConnell, 7th for Michael Thorpe Jr. Philip Chavez, we had just seen getting lapped under the side-by-side. He started in 9th, currently sits 12th on paper. Not the worst day possible. Still a long way to go, but a part of that contact in the outside lane that had occurred on the restart here at Iowa. Same goes for the 77 of Larry Griffin. Also caught up in the chaos of the outside lane stacking up on the restart. Why? Well, we will get to that in due time. Doug Pearson, 39, very quiet day. He's doing relatively solid here, just sitting in the top 10, minding his own business in no man's land, and honestly, I would think that's a good thing. Very quiet day, but that doesn't always mean it's the worst day possible. William Duff from the 17 machine, part of On the Throttle Racing. You see On the Throttle and the various associate sponsors cycling through on the top left-hand side of our timing bubble. He currently sits 9th after not being able to put in a qualifying time for one reason or another, but again, consistently in the top 10 for the moment. Not too bad. Hunter Karsten, the driver who unintentionally had caused the outside lane stack up. He started 2nd on the outside lane behind Brian McCann, got onto the back bumper of McCann, lifted the rear tires off the ground just ever so slightly, and not only put McCann slightly into the outside wall, but caused a little bit of a stack up that he himself, 13, was a part of, but still continuing on to the best of his ability. Moving up to the 88 of Heberly Telemac. So far, so good. Again, a quiet day, but not too bad. Same goes for the 6 of Jonathan Burt, both Texas Speed drivers. Started 11th and 12th, currently running 7th and 6th, respectively. Not too bad, I would say, as we go back to Karsten and Duff, as Duff will just slide on the inside lane. Won't be able to complete the pass for P8 off turn number 4. He'll continue to do his best here as they go into turns 1 and 2 once again. Moving up once again to Ryan Lynch. Started 8th, currently sits 3rd. Also part of On the Throttle Racing. We saw his teammate in the 17 trying to make a pass on Hunter Karsten to improve the position for both drivers as we cross the halfway portion of this race. Chris Chavez Esri, again, quiet day, but again, not a bad thing. Snuck his way through up into the top 5, qualified 5th, but currently sits in 4th place. Very prime position to score points. Same goes for the 28 of Tony Brent, part of G4 Sim Sports, and so far relatively consistent season, save for one position 14 finish, but despite qualifying first, still sits in a prime podium position. I don't believe it's been a while since we've even talked to Tony Brent, if we even did at least once, but again, not a bad season for him so far. Same goes for Travis Starr. Started 6th, sits 2nd to Brian McCann. Has shown flashes of pace in the short run, but the long run, now that we're about 50 laps into the longest run of the day so far, well, that says otherwise. At least give or take 50 laps, maybe about 48, depending on when we got the green flag. Travis Starr still sliding off the corner, but still doing the relatively best as he can. score some prime position, prime points. Same goes for the number 8 of Brian McCann, who has absolutely been dominant so far, has set this season alight. 4 wins, could be on the docket here by the end of Iowa, but we still have to get to Iowa. Currently he sits at 3 wins, the driver who has scored the most amount of wins as well this season so far. Only second are both Zachary Lovelace and Cameron Sarton. You may notice Cameron Sarton's not here this week. He had real-life obligations, and no doubt a few other drivers also had some real-life obligations. That's why we're a little bit thin today, but that doesn't mean that we are short of entertainment. So that is the story so far. The drivers through the field, and well, another story, drivers through the field. Move the 15 through to P3, passing Tony Brent off turn 2 down the back straightaway. Could we see the 15 score a podium finish once again? Last time we saw the 15 in a podium position, I believe, was only at Daytona. Correction. Race 3. That track, third race of the season, was at Motegi. That's the last time we had words with the 15 Chris Chavez as here. Currently 7th race of the season, and still a long way to go before we get to the regular season end of Talladega, before the playoffs, before the 6 race playoffs. I don't know where I got 10 from. Or thinking how many races were left, but still even miscalculating that. It's been a long day. Regardless, we are just about to get to 20 laps to go before the stage. That would be with 50 laps remaining. Currently, we're just about to tick over to 70 laps remaining. And very interestingly, that is the absolute session time that we have left. 1 hour and 18 minutes and counting down. But at this rate, we'll definitely be done by then. Predicted half hour before we finish this event. Again, predicted as at the current pace of the field right now, so that could change depending on what happens, but still a long way to go before then, and still a long way to go before the completion of the stage. And looks like some recent news as well. The 34 of Michael Thorpe Jr. has officially decided to retire the car after about 26 minutes sitting in its pit stall. He's just now decided it's probably not worth it anymore, despite the fact he could get a couple more points here and there, but right now it's just not worth it. Well off the pace is William Duff. Maybe I'd slid off turn number 2. Has gotten passed by Heberly Telemac. Goes up to P7 on circuit. So now that we have a moment to collectively relax, and just before the stage, appropriately enough, let's take a look at the points as they stand. So Tony Brent, still a very significant margin of 217 points. I feel like that's incorrect. I don't believe he should be at 217 points. I believe he should be at 217, excuse this real quick, coming into this event, so I'm not sure why he's currently being scored at 217 points. We might not have something updated, as Ryan Lynch is going to be the first driver to come into pit road, just 60 laps shy. Maybe Lynch going to try and undercut some of the rest of the top 10. We'll see how things fare. Is he going to go for fuel only, is what I'm wondering. Is he going to try and make it just to try and go to the end here? It looks to be right side goes up on the car, so that looks to be the ladder, trying to make it to the end of the race more than anything else. We'll see how things fare. Down and away, Ryan Lynch goes. He will be put one lap down here. If not already one lap down, actually. About to be put 2 laps down here. That is the cost of pitting under green. Here's Brian McCann. And Ryan Lynch is right here, just entering turn 3. So almost 2 laps, but that is an ideal pit stop. It's come out quite a ways behind both Philip Chavez and Larry Griffin, both of which are for position. So we'll see if anyone else decides to go to pit road. We'll keep an eye on the text on the timing tower, which it will change to pit road one of these days. I'll make it a little bit more obvious if they're in pit road and change the entire background. William Duff and Heberly Telemac currently not too far from battling here. Both drivers running the outside lane. Duff running a little bit higher than anticipated, no doubt. Didn't exactly get the run that he wanted, I'm sure, but still stayed off the outside wall regardless. Dives to the middle lane, arcs to the inside. Trying to do everything he can to get by the 88, who bobbles a little bit off turn 4. William Duff looks to the inside. No, decides against it, stays in line. Now he'll move to the inside, and shockingly, well, that's why Brian McCann has blinked first to go to pit road. Now this is what I'm wondering here at this point with 10 laps left. Now that Ryan Lynch has gone to pit road, even more so, the pace of Ryan Lynch last time by, well, this time by 25.2 seconds. Travis Stars, we see a flash of Doug Pierce going into pit road. Does Travis Stars stay out for the next 10 laps? Brian McCann is just now in his pit box. Left side's going up. Down and away he goes. Setting the rear tires alight. Doug Pierce also dropping positions as he's in his pit box. Hunter Karsten has gotten the pit road too. I wonder, I would say at this point it's a matter of can Travis Start go the next 10 laps without having to pit. Let's ride on board for a lap and see what he is deciding here. Top speed of about 145 going into turn 3. And you know what, just for fun, let's ride on board. Well, never mind. It's about to say let's ride on board Brian McCann, but you know what, we'll ride along regardless. See what speeds he's doing here down into turn 3. Already 5 miles an hour faster in turns 1 and 2. On 45, so an average of about 5 miles an hour faster is Brian McCann. Phil Chavez and Tony Brent almost trading positions. We have 5 laps to go before the end of the stage. Travis Start has a chance to get 10 extra points here. Every position counts, and with 5 laps before the end of the stage, and Brian McCann being 1 lap down, I would say Dart is in a very comfortable position here. The lap time difference, 24.966 for Brian McCann, 26.397 for Travis Dart. Dart is the fastest of these drivers that are on the lead lap still. In fact, could even be counting on a caution. I saw the backfire flying and I was thinking, there's no way. Oh, hold on a second. Slides off the corner, holds on to it. I was thinking, there's no way that Travis Start would give up the opportunity to get, even if it's only quote-unquote 5 points. It's still extra points regardless. Just ask Chris Chavez Essery as well as Ryan Lynch. The extra point will matter. Now with the pretty much the rest of the top 10 being 1 lap down, Points won't technically be awarded until all these drivers complete their lap 110. So while Travis Starr will complete his lap 110, here comes Brian McCann to unlap himself. Let's say if Travis Starr completes lap 110, the other drivers that are lapped down still have to go one extra lap to be considered actually counted to completing their stage points. There's Brian McCann. He is one lap down, about to unlap himself. 2 laps to go before the end of the stage. Travis Starr in prime position. I would not be surprised if he decides to bail immediately the second he crosses the start-finish line, because that position will effectively be locked in. Look at Jonathan Burt as well, sneaking his way into the second place position. 1 lap to go. The stage ends at the completion of this lap. Keep an eye on everybody as they cross the start-finish line. Here we go. Off the final corner, Karsten laps himself. Winner of the stage is Travis Starr. He gets officially those 10 points, and now we have to wait quite a while for Jonathan Burt to do the same. Positions still changing between all these drivers here. So I wonder how that's going to work out. Let's see how things go. Jonathan Burt gets 9 stage points. William Duff gets 7 points to Heberly. 10, just barely 6 points to Brian McCann. So the drivers that are lapped down: Chris Chavez, Tony Brent, Ryan Lynch, Larry Griffin, and Phil Chavez. Rounding out the lap down cars as Travis Starr has gone to pit road. Phil Chavez hasn't technically completed the lap yet. There he goes. Now the stage points were awarded. And now everybody's coming to pit road, and I don't blame them. Jonathan Burt in pit road. Travis Starr already in pit road. William Duff getting passed by Brian McCann. The inside he goes. And Duff going to go ahead and stay out for a little bit, potentially banking on caution. I would not be surprised. But pit road, quite busy. The 6 of Jonathan Burt is about to go down in the way. So we'll update the stage points here momentarily. The points as of the stage, as that counts to the official tally of these drivers. Got that updated. We should maybe have actually accurate points. I feel like I'm missing a race for some reason, but I'm not sure as to why. Maybe it's just a weird tally. Regardless, Tony Brent now sits 3rd. In fact, everyone is pretty much already just about taking the pit stops. Heberly telling back the last driver to pit. William Duff, I believe, has also just left pit road. Philip Chavez and Larry Griffin still have yet to pit. That you'll see the last lap that all these drivers pit on the left-hand side of your screen. Some drivers in desperate need of going to pit road are Griffin and, of course, Philip Chavez. That's pretty much it. It's just those 2 drivers, both in 6th and 8th. Does Griffin go to pit road? No. Tony Brent, about to make his way up to P2, slides his way to the inside and past the 15 of FSRA. Got William Duff in pit road again, and it looks like he's at a slight meeting with the outside wall. In fact, he's looked like he's had such a hard meeting with the outside wall that his steering might be damaged. Not sure if that was already there, but we'll go ahead and take a look regardless to see. what exactly happened to William Duff here? So this is when he went to pit road. Oh, did he scrape the... Oh, did he scrape the pit entry barrels? Yes, he did. Oh, that's what happened. So on pit entry, that is where Duff has gotten damage from. Meanwhile, the battle for third place still rages on. As we see Philip Chavez go to pit road. Travis Start has made his way by, and in fact, he has drastically, the overcut here might have actually worked. 18 laps. 18 laps ago, both Tony Brent and Chris Chavez had went to pit road. McCann has pit 21 laps ago now. It's about to be 9 laps ago for Travis Start. And the pace difference is actually quite staggering. Last time by, the lap time for Brian McCann, 25.843, 25.136 for Travis Start. That's not the best lap overall. It's still 24.6. But even still, with an 8-second gap and potentially closing, that is a very, very telling lap time. We'll see how things fare in these last 40 laps. Essery still just hounding the back bumper of the 28 of Brett. Off turn 4. The position stays stagnant for the moment. Brian McCann continues to lead. But for how much longer is what I'm wondering. The undercut might work out here because Travis Starr is absolutely flying up through the field. That gap is still closing. Now it'd also be a good time to give you the live point standings, and I think I see what the issue is here as to why the point standings are seemingly inaccurate. I think I know exactly why. So for the moment, we'll take out your timing tower. I want to see if this has updated. Ah, it has. Okay. So that is where the issue lies, and that is something we can fix immediately. But on the bright side, here's your point settings as they stand a little bit after the stages. So these points do account for the stage. So leave it up for a little bit longer here for the next, say, 15 or so seconds before you go back to the racing action here. Tony Brent still continues to lead. And a very interesting gap between Thorpe and Dart, because if Travis Dart is to go into first place, not only does he immediately advance into the top 4 to lock himself into the championship, but he also, just on regular points alone, will surpass Michael Thorpe Jr. in points. And that gap still closing. 5.1 seconds now is the number. Correction, 5.3. It is fluctuating quite a bit. And meanwhile, these two have still just not separated from each other whatsoever. Tony Brent is using quite literally all of the racetrack. That is the first time I've seen someone willingly run that close to the outside wall. Not sure how willing it was necessarily, but throughout the entire trial, well, I would have given at least a little bit of space to it. This is the closest battle on track, and for effectively a pretty important position, the last step on the podium. Both drivers have started in the top 5, and both of them are going to be fighting for the third step of the podium. Chris gets to the inside, drag race down the back straightaway, into turns 3 and 4, move the 15 back up into the third place position. But for how much longer is going to be the real question here. Tony Brent a little bit loose, I think. Had a little bit of a moment off turn 4, but manages to hang on to it. Larry Griffin into pit road. Trying to see in mind, the gap is very slowly extending between Tony Brent and Chris Essery. The gap has stagnated a little bit between the top 2 runners. Travis Start has started to match the lap times of Brian McCann. The tire fall off has just started to hit. So on a related note, as according to the championship standings, turns out they're incorrect. The previous race results have not yet been added. That is slight oversight, but that will be adjusted here in a little bit after this event. In fact, I could probably do it right now during this one, so we'll see how things go, and we'll keep an eye on this battle for third place in the meantime. In fact, Tony Brent looks like he actually has started to catch up to Chris once again. But can Tony get by here is going to be the question. Will he use the 13 of Hunter Karsten as a pick? Laps to go at the line. Yep, actually still has come down a little bit between Travis Start and Brian McCann. Start is closing. He is on about 10 lap fresher tires. But are those 10 laps enough to close the gap by the end of this event and lock himself into the playoffs? Brent looks to the inside, can't quite get there. Both these drivers pit on the same lap. That was now 41 laps ago. Now it's just a matter of pure pace. Who has the better drive? Who has the better short run, long run pace? The short run definitely looks to be Chris Essery. In the long run, though, could it be Tony Brent? It's been 40 laps since they pit, so we're starting to just eke out into that long run territory. Tony Brent's tires are starting to, the rear end of the car for Tony Brent is starting to eke out there on corner exit. Still held on to it, though. I'd say that is definitely the most important thing, too. Is that it's kept in one piece, and they are still running. Sliding up to the outside again, just inches away from the outside wall, scraping it a little bit. The absolute precision, the precision placement of that number 28 is absolutely impressive. And in fact, that precision placement might get him back into third place, provided he does go around, or at least provided he does get alongside the 15. Tries to arc it a different way from the 15. Enter high, exit low, arc back low again. He's definitely not going to send it to the inside. He's just not in that area to do so. The gap has grown a little bit by 2-ish tenths between Dart and McCann. And right as I say that, it's gone back down to about 3.7, so it is fluctuating quite a lot here in the corners. Sliding off the corner, leaving tire tracks is Tony Brent. 14 laps to go. He sees that third place position. It's quite literally right there, taunting him in the highlighter yellow color. Both these drivers are driving the tires off this thing. Scraping the outside wall of both of these drivers as we just look on and just let everyone do their work. Granted, it's only about, quote-unquote, only 11 laps left, but still a long way to go here at Iowa. So watching these drivers do what they do best. Let's right on board with Tony Brent. Saw the slide from 15 of Essery off turn 2. As that means that Brent has just caught right up to the back bumper once again. Does he go to the inside? Does he try to make a move into turn 1? Decides against it. Not yet. Thinking it's probably too early. Prefers running the outside lane. Running just a little bit higher than FSRA on that low lane. Still the same lane regardless, but just a little bit higher. And he wants to get that preferred lane, does Brent. He wants to get a lane he's comfortable with. Granted, even though they're not side by side, so they'll have door banging off one another, this is still quite compelling action, considering that both of these two, again, pit the same lap. They're on the same strategy in terms of tire wear. A lot can happen. Both of them trying to get a third place finish. This extra point matters for both of them in the long run. Neither of them are locked in, and we don't really have to worry about that until Talladega, but even still, it's worth worrying about that one extra point now rather than later, and Tony Brent doesn't want to worry about it later. He goes to the inside, passes Chris Chavez, clears him through turn 2. Lower exit off turn 2 to defend. And I was going to say it proves to be successful, but he slides up in turns 3 and 4 with 5 laps to go at the line. And it looks like that might be it for the tires of Chris. He might have burned them up. Tony Brent into third place, and that might be the decisive move. I see Tony Brent still just trying to keep the car under control to the best of his ability. Someone who's definitely done the best of that is the leader, Brian McCann. He's been doing fantastic. Able to outlast Travis Starr, as Starr's had pretty much fallen off a cliff from driving so hard, trying to catch up to Brian McCann. We are now at 2 laps to go here at Iowa. Coming into this race, we were wondering, even though that this is an Xfinity car, Brian McCann had previously won here at Iowa. That was in the Gen 6 car in Season 6, the last time that this series has run here. And considering the form that McCann has been on so far with 3 wins already this season, he's about to add a 4th win to his list and a 2nd win to Iowa Speedway. Crosses the line is Brian McCann, winner at Iowa. Travis Starr, 2nd place. 3rd place, after a hard-fought battle and a well-deserved 3rd place at that, is the 28 of Tony Brent. The rest of the field crossing the line and drifting through turns 3 and 4, and somehow in a Formula Drift fashion as well, misses the wall. Brian McCann does not wait long to burn it down here on the front stretch. I wonder if he's going to go until his engine explodes. Nope, he's going to go until that. Nope, he's still going. There it goes. I have to say, a rightfully deserved win, especially for Brian McCann. A fantastic job here at Iowa as he will appropriately keep the car parked there in the background behind the wall. Luckily, it's not too far of a walk from victory lane in that instance, but still absolutely deserved for the number 8 machine. 2 wins here at Iowa. Once in the Gen 6 and now in the Xfinity car, proving that apparently he can win in any equipment. So I wonder if we can throw him into a Formula 4 car and see how that goes. But regardless, we'll see what the points are after this event once we get the previous race and also this race's points calculated. But regardless, in the meantime, we will take a look at your finishing results here from Iowa Speedway. So we'll go ahead and throw that up onto your screens now. With the win very rightfully going to Brian McCann, the 4th win of the season for McCann. Travis Start finishing in the 2nd place position. Tony Brent with a hard-fought battle over Chris Chavez finishes 3rd. Chavez still also a very well-deserved 4th place finish. And the rest of the field, because of the green flag run we had, finished 1 or more laps down. Ryan Lynch rounding out the top 5. Jonathan Burt finishing with a very quiet day in a positive manner, finishes in 6th. Hunter Karsten 7th. 8th place, Heberly Telemack. 9th place was Doug Pierce. And 10th place was Larry Griffin. Rest of the field has Philip Chavez and then William Duff having a quite literal run-in with the pit barrels at the end of pit lane, causing his day to end prematurely. Zachary Lovelace as well caught up in a outside, well, not only Lovelace, but Lovelace, McConnell, and Michael Thorpe Jr. all caught in a quite literal run-in with the outside lane restart from the one and only caution that we had. And they had their days ended early here at Iowa, but luckily we still have quite many races to go going into the playoffs, and even then we still have next week to look forward to. But first, we have to go to our interviews of the top 3. And we'll be starting off. We won't be waiting long necessarily, should be saying, to talk with the 3rd place finisher, that being Tony Brent. And Tony, a fantastic job for you today. Hard fought battle with Chris Chavez to get into the 3rd place position. And once again, you just continue your streak of having the consistency play in your favor.
Yeah, just not quite figuring out how to get those next 2 spots yet, but just trying to be methodical and in a pretty good point spot, so don't want to do anything too crazy and mess that up. Honestly, expect it to be a little bit better tonight. Like, there was a recruitment race here for FSRA in the off season and ran pretty good. So I expected a little bit more to be battling up there, but Brian's in a class of his own right now, so congrats to those guys.
Of course, so far, having to still recalculate points, at least at the moment, especially from the last race, because mistakenly I didn't have those, but still a consistent job for you for this week. And next week we move into Darlington, where that track is, in my opinion, probably just terrifying on its own in general. So your thoughts as we head to the Darlington Raceway next week?
Yeah, I've never been great at Darlington, so probably just look to try to stay out of trouble there and not beat myself and get out of there with a decent finish and get to some of the tracks that I have a little bit more confidence in. Try to put in some practice this week and get a little bit better there. Um, but yeah, I think some good tracks coming up for me later in the season, and I feel like we're in a pretty good spot um, to be in the playoffs. Obviously, would like a win in our pocket, but just don't have that quite yet.
Luckily, there are many more opportunities. I'm still going to have to see how things will fare with Nashville. In fact, luckily, I have to not wait long for that. But in the meantime, go ahead and shout out who gets it done for you with that number 28 machine.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to David, Brian, and Daniel running with us over here as G4 Sim Sports, and work closely with the guys over at Texas Speed. So I want to give a shout out to all of them, and just fun group to hang out with, even the nights when you may not run your best. You definitely get some laughs out of you. So big shout out to those guys, and appreciate the time they spend to help us over here as well.
And as always, we appreciate your time as well for allowing us to interview you here. So we will hope to talk to you again next week, even though, of course, like you said, and something that I can relate to as well, is that Darlington is definitely a beast of its own. That is for sure.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll look into to a top three and be talking to you here again next week. But appreciate the time and the job that you do, and thanks to Travis and Steve for all the work that they put into to give us a place to race on Tuesday nights.
Well, we are going to go ahead and let you go. Congratulations once again on your third place finish for this week.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
That is third place finisher being the 28 of Tony Brent. And luckily, we get to ask Travis this question a little bit later. But first of all, of course, Travis, you had the run going into the final portion of this race. But of course, the short run pace was there, but the long run pace was a little bit less forgiving, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, once before pit stops, when he was like 2 seconds ahead of me, I think it was, I knew there was a very small chance of getting to him, so I tried something different. I just couldn't get to him before we started plateauing. I couldn't even really get anywhere close. I think I got to 3.5 seconds, and then we started plateauing. And yeah, it is what it is. It was a good night. Got first in the stage. That was a strategy play, but overall, good night.
Especially with how the one caution had played a little bit of a wrench into things, and the outside restart having a little bit of a, I guess I would say a run. I don't know if discombobulation would be the correct word out of necessity, but still a chaotic restart nonetheless. No caution came out, and I'm sure about 5, 6, 7 different drivers sliding off turn 2 and turn 4.
Yeah, I still have to go back and look at it. I don't even know what happened. I'm surprised McCann didn't get more damage from that. I think he just got a tiny bit of right front damage, and that was about it. Not enough to slow him down or like ruin his tires from the damage. So, I mean, that's good for him. Kind of bad luck for me. I was hoping for a little bit of damage. But yeah, I truly don't know what happened. I got the lead from that, and I was really just confused. And I thought I maybe jumped the start, but I was pretty positive I didn't. But Steve said I didn't. So, yeah, I don't even know what happened.
Especially with the record points as well, with Michael Thorpe Jr. to bring out the first caution while I'm going out of order. But I did remember that you had come quite close to being collected, and I'm pretty sure you thought it seemed like you were expecting him to slide to the inside, but once he snapped back around to the outside, you luckily braked in time, but terrifying, I'm sure, nonetheless.
Yeah, I thought I was dead. Yeah, I thought he was for sure going towards the apron, and then I'm gonna have to go look at his wheel to see what happened. If like maybe he just throttled it up or something, or if he just turned it a little bit and that's how it snapped. But I mean, yeah, I'm just happy me and Tony Brent weren't involved in that, because me and him were right behind him when that happened.
Going into next week at Darlington, especially, what are your thoughts as we head to I almost forgot the nickname of the track for a second. Wow, that's embarrassing. But the Lady in Black, the track that is ever so notorious for somehow just pretty much having the outside walls covered in tire marks by the end of the night.
Yeah, I'm getting better at the track. I did a B Open yesterday, and usually I'm not too good there, but I had a really good race yesterday. But of course, we're going to be using the iRacing fix setup next week. But I feel pretty good there. Hopefully the fix setup's pretty good. Last week at Michigan, I was very surprised at how good the Michigan setup was and how it drove. So hopefully I'm more impressed with Darlington, and it drives pretty good.
I'll see how things fare for that. And in fact, while we have you, a little bit of a lead question, and especially something that we'll definitely note for later, is going into instead of Charlotte, but the Nashville Fairgrounds. of course, is, I believe, nothing has changed since then, where the finishing order for both races will pretty much be averaged out, and then that will be the finishing order for the entire night in general, rather than one race each. So how will, in that case, how the playoffs work?
What do you mean
I
as
guess in
far
that
as?
I guess in that case, as far as just scoring and everything, being able to
Yeah,
average
it'll
everything
just
out. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we'll have to go into Sim Racing Hub and move probably a couple things around and manually adjust it. But yeah, I mean, it shouldn't affect playoffs in any way. It'll just be a normal race, but we'll just average your finish. The inverted field should be very interested. I'm very curious on how that'll work out and if people like that or not. That was something that we just put in and thought it would be cool to do.
How did I miss that part? I wonder. I must have looked over that entirely. Well, that's gonna be
Yeah,
something to look ahead for.
we're inverting the field for the second race based off the first race finish.
That is definitely going to be something to look ahead for. And what's that now? Yeah, technically give or take 3 weeks time. But before I go ahead and let you go prepare for Darlington next week, go ahead and shout out who gets it done for you with that number 26.
Both my teammates, Doug and Philip. Philip was caught up in an early wreck, so he had a tough night, but Doug had a pretty good race. Uh, any family and friends that are watching. And then our sponsors, Butt Kicker, On the Throttle Podcast, and also Team Watson Racing setup. So we have a good Darlington setup this week. So if any Be Open guys are out there, make sure to go get that. And then also you up in the booth and Steve, our race control guy.
We're going to go ahead and let you go celebrate your second place finish once again with your crew and team. And I hope to talk to you again next week at Darlington.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
And that is second place finisher Travis Dart. So as we heard, and we'll repeat that as well once we get to that weekend of Nashville. We're still quite a ways away from that, luckily. The finishing order of both races will be averaged out. So a little bit of math is involved, so we'll have to wait and see how things fare for that a little bit later than usual. But regardless, it's still going to be a very exciting night of action. And somebody who has definitely gotten a probably a little bit more exciting night of action than anticipated is the one and only Brian McCann. And Brian, we'll just start off with this immediately with your immediate thoughts with the restart, where Carson got a little bit too eager, which happens, but lifted the rear tires off the ground and you ended up in the outside wall. Did you have any wheel damage from that at all?
No, just scraped up the paint job a little bit, but drove perfectly fine. Yeah, that restart was a little scary there. It lifted my rear end up, and I was trying to go, but I couldn't go. And then I saw in my mirror everybody stacked up, and no yellow came out, so that kind of sucked for half the field there. But yeah, we just found that right line that the car wanted, and was easy that right rear tire.
Which the entire outside lane had gotten inadvertently deleted from that. But regardless, still a very exciting race nonetheless. Once again, ending our having a very interesting streak. I think I'm gonna have to look into the previous races once again. But I think we've had like 2 races on with caution free, 1 race with the caution, and then here we are again with I think a couple other races free with no caution. So a fun variance of cautions versus no cautions throughout the past few weeks.
Yeah, it's just that those green flag runs. It's so important to have the line and to save the tire. And luckily tonight we were able to figure it out. Early on, Travis, he was running us down for a while, and it could have went his way if that pit strategy didn't work out. Heck, I almost hit the pits coming in. So a lot of luck tonight too.
Seems like everyone just likes to have a impromptu run with the pit tires, the pit attenuator recently. But regardless, still a very successful night for you coming into this event, especially with the multi-groove racing as well as, or multi-lane racing out of technicality, but still proving successful to you. So walk us through pretty much the race for you and how your tires had felt.
Yeah, tires. I noticed on the setup I had to change the brake bias quite a bit, and that helped out the tire situation a little. And that top side was real friendly to the right rear, which was the weak link the whole race. So I stayed up high for the most time. The bottom lane was pretty much faster for maybe 20 laps or so, but then I think the top side really shined. So I just went ahead and stuck it up there and see what happens.
Seems to be you and the right rears having the occasional weekend where you're not getting along, but still proving successful and pulling together through in the end. So going into Darlington for next week, a day race as well, keeping in mind. So having a little bit of a more factor on those conditions. Your thoughts?
Yeah, these day races. I think most of the time when I race there, it's night. So if it's a day race, that's going to be tough on the tires and even more challenging because a night race is fun because it's challenging. But imagine a day race with hot tires. That's going to even be worse. So that's going to be fun.
And we'll definitely see how things fare before we go ahead and let you go celebrate your 4th race win of the season. Go ahead and shout out who gets it done for you with that number 8 machine.
Yeah, my family, league admins for putting this show on, our sponsors. Big shout out to our sponsors. They help out greatly with this. My spotter, repeat 1975, Derek in the chat helping out tonight. Jones Paints and Designs on the paint job on our car, and everybody watching, thank you.
And as always, thank you for your time. We hope to talk to you again next week at Darlington. That is the race winner, the number 8 machine, Brian McCann. 4 times this season, Brian McCann has won here in the 7th season of the Full Send Racing Association, the Full Send Racing Series. And we're not done just yet. Just now, about to finalize the point standings and everything, just adding quite literally one more driver. So with just a little bit of time to spare, we will go ahead and show you the update point standings, both taking into account Michigan, obviously, as well as this most recent event. That's all we need to do is just a simple copy and a simple paste. Once we find the document to paste that in. But regardless, still a very well done race here this evening. Only one caution as well, despite the fact that the exit lane had been a little bit ruffled up. But regardless, still a very interesting event here, especially with the multiple grooves, the multiple lanes that some of these drivers were running, some running better than others for certain drivers. And I have to say, it proved pretty successful for, of course, some more than others. And definitely something to look ahead for going into Darlington next week, where we have a whole host of things to keep an eye out for. As we are about to give you the updated point standings, provided this is updated, but this does actually get the updates in the first place. Looks to be a hard no, apparently. That is always enjoyable. There is a document that I am missing, isn't there? It's probably this one. It actually might be this different one. I'll just get this one real quick. Once again, do a copy paste, and then we'll add this one in and see if that is the one that does it. Yes, it is. There we go. So now, after a little bit of messing around with everything, we will finally give you your point standings exiting this event. Up on your screen now are the current point standings, provided any single number issues that may exist. We'll see how things are next week. But regardless, Brian McCann with 4 race wins on the season, racking up 12 playoff points. Lovelace and Sarton still the only other 2 to have won this season. Tony Brent still leads over the rest of the field, namely Travis Start, Chris Chavez, Esri, Michael Thor Jr., and Hunter Karsten. All 4 of those drivers are all within striking distance of another, depending on how some weekends go. Regardless, still a pretty close battle between Jonathan Burt, Ryan Lynch, and William Duff as well. Philip Chavez, luckily for him, I would say, in a bubble of his own in P12. That is the cutoff point going into the playoffs, but again, not really time to worry about it just yet. Driver in a bubble of his own as well is Larry Griffin. And in fact, I would say, dare I say, Chavez and Griffin, not exactly, Chavez and Griffin are both actually in their own isolated bubble rather than Chavez solely being alone. So 9-point difference between Griffin and Chavez going into Darlington next week. So that will be something to keep an eye on. Jared Claude, 14th in the standings, 1 point ahead of Heberly Telemac. Corey Mower wasn't able to run this week, I don't believe. So he sits now at 141 points. Doug Pierce at 138. 129 for Brian Johnson. Fluger at 122 points. Trey Jackson at 104 points. And then David McConnell sits at 57 points, tied with Jeffrey Souza. 48 points for John Dart. 47 points for Andrew Medlin. Andrew Littman at 35 points. And Bill Dart at 28 points. Unseen in 28th place, I believe, is Daniel McConnell, who sits with 23 points in that 27th or 23rd place, or 28th place, correction. But that does it here from Iowa Speedway. Next week is a race that I am definitely going to be looking forward to, and that is because, again, it is the referred to as the Lady in Black, a track that I'm looking forward to going into the next week. And what a way as well to start off the next race of the season here at Darlington, the next month of the season, being September as well. That's going to be something that I am very intrigued for. Hopefully you are too, and no doubt the season is still out of technicality, just getting started. We are going to be just about, give or take, halfway through that portion, or this portion of the season. Definitely something that we will be looking ahead for here on the Racing Line Network as we head to the Darlington Raceway. Next week is going to be September 3rd, of course, the same time as per usual. 136 laps at the Darlington Raceway. Stage will end there at lap 50. So, a lot of variances with the completion of the stage going on. And that is going to be just about 7 races before the start of the playoffs. So things are still going to be heating up as well. Day race, keeping in mind as the local time for the start of that race in Sim will be 3:05 p.m., give or take. So a lot of weather to account for, and let's hope it's not going to be cloudy as well, especially going into that event. In the meantime, this has been the Racing Line Network. I hope you enjoyed tonight's event here at the Iowa Speedway. We'll see you next week on September 3rd around the same time of about 9:25-ish Eastern PM, more specifically. And we hope you enjoyed this afternoon's broadcast here on the Racing Line Network. We will see you all next week.